I placed two different orders of comic books from the same place and had two very different experiences. Hey there, today I have an unboxing video, and in this video I'm going to open up two orders of comic books that I placed with Atomic Avenue. I recently placed these orders with two different sellers and had two different ordering experiences. And there is one book that is the same in each order, so that'll be interesting to kind of compare the two to see condition-wise, as I ordered all of these books listed under the near mint category. But the basic gist of what happened was I had placed both orders roughly around the same time. I get on these kicks where I feel like there's a specific comic, back issue that I really want to get in high grade, and I find it in one place, and the price is reasonably the same, and I'm picking up a couple of copies, and I will try to do this with a specific book in hopes that I end up with the condition that I'm looking for or in the highest grade possible. And when I placed these two orders with Atomic Avenue, I almost immediately got the order confirmation and the fact that the order was packed and shipped right away, or at least a label was created, but it made it seem like things were progressing. And then with the second order, it lagged a bit, and then I got a bunch of individual comic book cancellations within the order, and this will happen from time to time with Atomic Avenue, where the seller may find that while they were picking the books out of the collection, they actually weren't near mint, which I do appreciate, at least bringing this to my attention before shipping the books. Most of the time, you're going to get books that aren't near mint, and then you have to contact the seller, send pictures, and then they might give you like 10% of your money back, or there'll be some other sort of negotiation around money back or returns. And then some sellers will just go ahead and admit and say, hey, this near mint book is actually more around a fine or a VF. Do you still want it? I've regraded it. And through the regrading, the book will end up costing a few dollars less. And then you as the buyer, you have the option to sort of opt out to say, well, this isn't the item I purchased. And so this is what happened to me was I got a bunch of cancellations, but some of them were regrades. Some of them were I can't find the book. It's out of stock. A back issue is out of stock. In any case, I want to open these two orders and see what I ended up with, but was definitely disappointed with the ordering experience from one of the sellers on Atomic Avenue and very pleased with the other. So let's open up these two orders and take a look at the books I got and compare some of the conditions to see if, in fact, these books were in near mint condition. All right, here we go. Here are the two orders, both sent via USPS. One was sent priority, one was sent ground. Seems to be well packaged. Let's go ahead and get both of these opened up so we can start taking a look at the books inside. Okay, both orders were pretty well packed. There was a bit of a difference. This smaller stack of books here had some bubble wrap on it. It was fine. Really nothing to complain about it, I guess, just compared to the other order, where, of course, a nice touch here by adding a little trading card here featuring a Daisy Duck. So it's always fun to get something free. And everything was well packed in this other order where there was a lot of different tape pulls. They use painter's tape. So again, just comparing two different sellers, not that, it's not two orders from the same fulfillment center or the same resource. I do understand that these are individual sellers or businesses that are selling comics on Atomic Avenue. But just, again, this is why paying attention to who you order from matters, whether it's eBay or any platform where there can be multiple sellers. The individual seller is the most important thing in terms of establishing a relationship as a buyer and getting to know, like, how do they pack books, what are their prices, turnaround times and everything like that. It just makes such a huge difference where then you can start to really buy comic books sight unseen and do pretty well for yourself as a buyer. So let's go through the first order where there was a lot of cancellations. This was from the seller F. Rhodes, I believe, on Atomic Avenue. Ended up getting 6 comics from them instead of, I think I had ordered like 14 or 15 books. So was left with 6 books, and I'll show you what I picked up from this seller. The first book is West Coast Avengers #1. This is the limited series West Coast Avengers. So there was a 4-issue limited series, and then I think the following year, that is when the original monthly title began. And you can pretty much make out in the corner box which characters are going to make the team right there. Spoiler alert, if you're wondering which of these characters are going to make it, although it'd be interesting to kind of pick off some randoms and, maybe you've got Rom, Submariner, Black Widow, Cyclops. Maybe that makes an interesting team. The other thing here to point out, this is the newsstand copy. Atomic Avenue really doesn't distinguish between direct and newsstand. It's kind of a platform thing. I really don't see them changing that going forward. And if you are a newsstand hunter, it should be a simple change. You would just classify that as a variant, but for whatever reason, it's up to the seller to add that into the description. So sometimes what you can do if there's a particular book that you want in either a direct or a newsstand is you can just sort of low-key ask the seller if you can see a scan, and maybe you're certainly interested in the condition, but you really want to see that barcode before you place the order. So most sellers will honor that request for a scan before you buy. Speaking of newsstands, this is X-Men 207, Uncanny X-Men, and this is the book I was mentioning earlier where this is one of my favorite all-time covers of X-Men and Wolverine, probably in my top 5 Wolverine covers, and I am taking a look at the condition, and I do see some non-color breaking ticks. It's going to be tough here. Let me take it out of the bag and just show you. Interesting. They're using the tuck method, using the tuck rule method, I guess, the Tom Brady method of just tucking the flap in without adding Scotch tape. But here you can really start to see, as I show you the spine in the light, you can see those spine ticks that are right there. So probably would need some humidity, maybe a little bit of light tack iron work before it goes into the press just to smooth it out. No color breaks though. Corners are sharp. So yeah, this would be a candidate for a press. The back looks pretty strong. See too much, just some slight, again, just sort of like ticks along the bottom that this would all benefit from a press. A little bit of a discoloration there on the line. So this is probably as is. Again, more finger bends here. Just light creasing all over the place. Here's something across the middle. Looks like it's tough. This one is either going to come out in a press or it's sort of like a permanent scratch that goes across. So would you say that this is near mint? Look at the creasing down here now that it's out of the bag too. Probably not. This is probably more of your 8 to 8.5 variety, maybe 9.0 if you're feeling really generous or just got hired at CGC. But it's probably an 8.5. 8.5 that needs a press. I would probably wipe it down just to be sure with a couple of those things down here. Not bad, but not near mint. So, just kind of keeping all of this in mind as I'm comparing the two orders. Here is Secret Wars #2, another newsstand copy. I think we're seeing a trend with this seller. This again was near mint. This one is certainly not. I'm just gonna leave it here in the bag and board. There are color breaking ticks up and down the spine. So this is probably in worse shape, probably, in that 7-ish without looking at the back cover. Assuming there's some things in the back cover, it's probably like a 7.0. All of these books were purchased near mint. Here's Daredevil 207. I believe this is a Bill Sienkiewicz cover, kind of before he went with that ultra hyper stylistic version of his art. Again, not near mint. Color break there, couple of color breaks, slightly miswrapped corner blunting with color breaks there. So not great with that one. We'll just keep rolling along here. Classic X-Men #1. This was a book that I keep ordering from Atomic Avenue sellers. This one looks okay in terms of the structure, but I'm worried about the color as you look at that against the white backing board. There's a lot of miscoloring, almost just some very, very light foxing at the bottom too. Just it looks sort of rusted over, just very spotty and yellowish there. And then the last book that they honored from my original order, Batman 374, again all newsstand here with this order, and it was not indicated as such. So I am quote unquote stuck with these newsstands. And of course, I'm half joking just because I'm not really a newsstand snob or collector, but do understand and appreciate the differences in the sort of comic book collecting history. Okay, so that was the first order. Again, a decent stack of books, just not near mint, clearly not near mint. And I think the obvious should be something that we learned about this seller, the fact that the conditions are what they are, and the fact that all 6 of these books were newsstands. So if you are in the market for a newsstand and you actually study these prices and price trends and values, then maybe you could find this seller on Atomic Avenue and hunt down that back issue and take a chance that the book that you'll be getting is the newsstand instead of the direct, and maybe you make out. Like I said, what I would do is contact a seller on Atomic Avenue and ask for a scan and just say that you want to check out the condition. All right, let's look at the next order. Now, I felt like it was better packed and put together than that first order. So what I'm thinking is maybe these books will be in a little bit better shape, just because I'm hoping that if they're caring for how they sent me the books, they hopefully cared about how they stored the books and so forth, and how they rated them condition-wise. But let's see. And right off the bat, we have that great Uncanny X-Men 207, just coincidentally also newsstand. So I am on a newsstand roll here. I'm going to take this book out of the bag and board just so that I can compare the condition, since we did it with the other order. And I want to see, since this was the book that I was after, how did it work out with those two? I would say it's probably about the same. As you can see, all the non-color breaking ticks just rolling up and down. I swear this is a different copy. It is more creased here at the top of the corner box, some dimpling there, or the character box, I should say. Yeah, this one actually, I would probably yeah, look at this too. Interesting enough, it has the same sort of line that went across. It's almost like these two were sitting on the rack originally back in 1986 together. But I would probably grade this one an 8.0 and the first copy an 8.5. It just happens to be slightly more creased, although it doesn't have the crease down in the corner. So maybe I have it reversed. This one is the 8.5 and the previous one is the 8.0. But either way, neither of them are near mint, and it is unfortunate because it's such a great cover. So I'm going to continue to be hunting for this one, or looking at both of these issues as potential presses for maybe some cleanup and improvement. The next book I picked up is Star Wars #6, and I definitely invite you to stay to the end of this video where you can see what I paid for these books, because part of what made this other order interesting to me was I felt like there were some books, maybe you might consider them keys, maybe not, definitely a couple of incentives that were not classified correctly, or they were classified correctly on Atomic Avenue, I take that back, but the prices certainly were not. So for whatever reason, where a particular comic like this one, the first full appearance of Sana Staros, the price didn't really reflect that, and especially with a couple of the incentives that I got, it looked like any other back issue at cover price. So I was happy to add this one. Hopefully with this being a modern book, it will be at least in that near mint condition. It looks pretty good through the bag and board. Next is Spider-Man #2. I routinely pick these up from Atomic Avenue, and I tried to get them for a couple of bucks, because if you can land these in a 9.8, you're looking at a $65, maybe $75 9.8. Maybe it's a few dollars less in today's market, but everyone loves McFarlane. This looks to be pretty good. Typically, these have sat around in the back bins in people's collection, and they weren't really manhandled, because I think there was some of the speculation boom kind of holdover, so I'll typically get these in around like 9.6 and 9.8 shape from these Atomic Avenue sellers. Next is Moon Knight number 21. Very cool Bill Sienkiewicz Moon Knight cover. This is the Sienkiewicz art in his heyday with Moon Knight. We've got Brother Voodoo also on the cover of this great black and white with the red text in the trade and the yellow moon and reflections here. And this book was listed just in near mint. It looks to be in really, really nice shape. So hopefully that was a good pickup for a near mint back issue. Here's another one that was listed in near mint. This is Hulk 245. Really cool Al Milgrom cover art. Literally Hulk smash on this one. And wanted to take a chance at this book being near mint. And I can tell already from those couple of color breaking ticks, one right there and one up here, that this will not be a 9.8 candidate, but could be, maybe in that 9.0 to 9.2. However, what I am noticing right here at the bottom, looks like a couple of chunks of the book have been like taken out, like maybe like a cat bit through it or something, or a snake, I don't know. But unfortunately, that will not even be near mint, so I take that back. And that's how it goes. I've said this in the past. It still surprises me that people do not know how to grade comic books, or they do know how to grade and they just lie. I don't know. Maybe there's some middle ground somewhere. Maybe it's not that extreme, but it does seem to me like, or maybe it's not so much that people don't know how to grade, they don't care about grading accurately. Here is another book, Ghost Rider 15. Always love picking up this book. Fantastic Mark Teixeira cover, glow in the dark. And I remember seeing this vividly sit on the shelf, and this is what drew me to the 90s Ghost Rider comics, was this specific cover. So I love this great Teixeira cover for Ghost Rider 15. Next is Catwoman 52. This is cover art by Adam Hughes. This book is interesting to me because I love the facial expression here on Selina, but also the reflection in her goggles. I think that's Black Mask. I'm not really up on my DC villains as I should, but this specific cover was interesting to me because I remember picking it up a long time ago, and I was so happy to find a copy of it, and I got it for a good deal, and it was just completely damaged. I don't want to throw Midtown under the bus and say I got it there, but I got it online and was just really disappointed, and I think I ended up giving it like a 6.0 just because it was like bashed in every corner with a stacking crease and just completely manhandled. This one too probably is borderline 9.4. It's probably somewhere like a 9.0, 9.4 range, but just something really to look at is the Adam Hughes run on Catwoman. Just a tremendous set of covers there. I've got some X-Men books. This is X-Men 236. Awesome Mark Silvestri cover art here. We've got Wolverine and Rogue on the cover during Silvestri's epic run on Uncanny X-Men. Here's another one. This is Uncanny X-Men 245. This is actually a cover by Rob Liefeld. There's a bunch of weird cameos in this issue too that makes it either a key or not, depending on your point of view. Not sure what happened to Wolverine's eyes there. Maybe that's fur. That just kind of, his eyebrows grew over his eyes. I'm not sure exactly. This one's quite dirty, so this might need a little bit of a cleanup. It looks to be okay, but still not like slam dunk 9.4s all the way. Next book is interesting to me. This is Wolverine 100. I'm leaving it there because it's a good angle in the light to see the cool adamantium skeleton hologram cover. I've been obsessed with this book ever since I found it in back issue bin in Las Vegas, and you can see the hologram. Pretty cool. There's the skeleton, and there it goes back to Wolverine. So a fun, awesome book. There's a better shot at it. Really cool cover art. When you can't make out Wolverine in the hologram, it looks sort of lame. It's just this big silver blob, but then when you can kind of activate it there, yeah, no, that's just me. But anyway, when you can activate it, it's a pretty cool cover. Not so cool when you're seeing your own face in it, but I'm still kind of obsessed with this one, trying to find it in a 9.8. See a little bit of a color breakdown there in that corner. So, I'm thinking 9.6, 9.4 already, a little bit of crease here. It is cardstock. It does seem to get kind of folded up and bent, so that's unfortunate, but probably another sort of 9 or 9.2 candidate in my collection. Here's one of those incentives that really snuck in, I think, at cover price. This is a 1 in 25. This is X-Men number 3. Love this Terry Dodson cover. You've got Rogue here front and center, X-23 down here, some of the other X-Men in the background. But love this cover, and remembered it being a 1 in 25, and it was just listed at cover price. Another incentive here, this is X-Men Red number 3. This is the Art Adams 1 in 25 featuring Storm from all the way back in the story in the X-Men Annual, where she was tricked by Loki and she became the goddess of thunder. And there was this whole story in Asgard, and what was cool, it was all art by Simonson and Adams, and it's just some crazy looking art in the interiors and a fun story. And it's been part of Storm's history, and this is just a fantastic Art Adams cover to this 1 in 25, and I got it for around cover price. Last book, Adventures of Superman, number 425. And I was just checking my notes. I did not order this book, so they threw in a free comic along with that Daisy Duck card. So that's cool. Always love a free comic book, and also love picking up books that are either underpriced, priced incorrectly, listed incorrectly, because those are definitely 1 in 25s, and I did not pay ratio to get them. But a great assortment of comics, very typical of the things that I'm looking for and what I collect when I'm looking for back issues. But I want to show you now what I paid for these books so that you can kind of see how they compare to fair market value, and if these books did grade out in that near mint 9.4 and I were to get them professionally graded, would they have any value there? And if there's some crazy way that some of these turn out to be a 9.8, you can take a look at those values too. So let me show you the order summary with those numbers. All right, here is the order summary for the orders that I placed with Atomic Avenue. They were about 1 month apart, so we'll go over the first order that I placed more recently on August 6, 2023. This was from the seller JVZ on Atomic Avenue. And this was the seller that had the order packed, I would say, more professionally or carefully. They used a lot of tape pulls, painter's tape. There looked to be a lot of care with the packaging, and used a sturdier box to deliver the comics in. I was invoiced $62.72 for the entire order. These were all comic books that were listed in near mint. And then what I'd like to do is show you the values of these books and how they compare to the price that I paid here. So you can see in column Z, this is the total cost. I did not have to pay tax or shipping with this seller, which is great. So I would say maybe another point in the direction of JVZ, as I'm kind of pitting these two sellers against each other for no reason other than the fact that I had the two orders to open. And you can see here in column AA that I've added over $90 of value to my collection if I were to keep these books raw. Now, if you look at the last couple of lines here, we've got X-Men number 3, Atomic Avenue listed it as Variation B, and X-Men Red number 3, Variation A. Those are actually both 1 in 25s. Not tremendous value, $10 on cover price for that book, but I bought it for $3.57, so not bad getting a 1 in 25 at sort of standard cover open order pricing. Same for X-Men Red, $4.75 for a $19 book, so that was the big winner there. Actually, no, I'm mistaken. The big winner, according to cover price, I'll adjust these here as I go, as I put in the grades, but they're saying that X-Men 207 is a $27 book. I don't believe that, but nevertheless, I paid $8.60 through the seller JVZ for that book. Always on the lookout for that X-Men 207, and it looks to have an additional value add of $18.40. But everything looks really positive here. But now, what if I plug in an actual 9.4 grade? Then what sort of values are we looking at here? And hopefully you can see the cover price values change slightly along with the CGC fair market value. So if I were to send these books in for professional grading in column AB, it'd be more or less a wash, about $20 of value added. A lot of these in the negative here. Cover price still holding on that it's a $27 book, that X-Men 207, but if I change it to an 8.0, then we'll probably see that it'll just, yeah, $14. That's probably more realistic and accurate for that book. That 8.0 grade, $14 raw. Still, I think $8.60. No tax, no shipping. That's what I love to do. I love getting those books under FMV, under what I think they should be priced at. Same for those incentives, obviously, but a lot of the other books here too, like Moon Knight 21, was able to pick that up for $10.95. That was the most expensive book, but still under fair market value at 12. Catwoman 52 costs $6.20. Not that that's the most famous of all Catwoman covers done by Adam Hughes, but still, because it's Hughes, we've got a $15 fair market value attached to that if it is in a 9.4. Now, just for fun, if these do all grade out at 9.8, which they probably won't, but it's still fun to look at the values. Let's take a look at the CGC values for these, and we can see them really jump with the Hulk 245 jumping ahead of the pack here at $193. And you can see that this has the potential ceiling value add of $722.06 if I were to send all of these into CGC and they got the 9.8. They won't, I understand that, but it's still, I want to make sure that the books I'm buying, that they have value in that maximum grade. I don't count 9.9 or 10 as the max. 9.8 is the most realistic collectible max that you can get if you're just an average collector. And I want to make sure that the books that I'm buying have strong values in a 9.8. And for the most part, they do. $57 for X-Men #3 is the low one here. And that's okay. That's a book that came out in 2021. I don't expect it to have big value at 9.8. I was just looking to grab that book because it was an incentive in getting it for undercover price. All right, now let's take a look at the next order. And this was from the seller F. Rhodes on Atomic Avenue. And a little bit of a different story here. I was invoiced $65.10. I had to pay $11.85 for that order. That order was shipped USPS ground, and on the label it said like $14 or something like that. That's crazy to me. You should be able to send somewhere between like 5 and 7 comics. It usually gets over £1, and you can throw it in a legal flat rate envelope, and it's a lot less than $14. But I think it's around $9 to 11. But anyway, this was kind of an odd case where I didn't unlock free shipping. I was okay with paying it. Books got canceled. My shipping didn't decrease, and the seller ended up spending more on shipping. It just really odd, very strange. But unfortunately, then I have to distribute that $11.85 into the cost of the book. And so you can see here now as I drag the columns over to look at the cost. So what I ended up paying for the book is actually going to be quite a bit more. And even with the shipping, though, if you're looking at column AA and the raw value add, I still was able to add almost $38 of value to my collection. Uncanny X-Men 207, again, it's kind of skewing the numbers right now. I'll adjust that in a second. Batman 374, $12.53 added on that one. And this one's really rough, kind of stings, almost $16 for that Secret Wars 2 book that is probably more like a 7.0, not near mint. And this is too where I hesitate, like, do I contact the seller and say, hey, it's not near mint, it's a 7.0, and then they're kind of get back to me like, oh, you're too particular, a 9.4 can have a couple of spine ticks, you're too harsh on your grading. And I just don't typically deal with it. I just sort of take my losses and move on. So that one hurts at $16 to lose $2, and really that's probably not a $2 loss. It's probably bigger than that when I plug in these grades here. But let's do this. Let's put in 9.4 just in case, like, hey, maybe these are near mint. Maybe I am being too harsh on the grades. Probably not, but let's take a look and see. And yeah, as expected, some of these books have value in a CGC 9.4. West Coast Avengers holding up nicely at $72 for that book in a 9.4, so that's pretty cool. And then if these books are 9.8, what kind of values are we looking at here, just from a maximum ceiling perspective? $722. That has shocked me for a second. It's claiming that Classic X-Men #1 is $377 in a 9.8. That really can't be right. So I'll have to double check those values. And in fact, I am going to look at this on cover price here. And Look at that, 9.8, $329 FMV. Last sold March 23rd at 375. I don't know. That seems, I don't know. I really don't know what's going on with the market. Like if you asked me, hey, I've got a CGC 9.8 copy of Classic X-Men #1. What do you think it's worth? I'd probably say 160, 175 maybe. I would not guess $350 or whatever it was. But those are the two orders. Interesting experience. You know, the order that I'm really scrutinizing at this point, there were a lot of red flags. The shipping costs, the fact that books were canceled, some were misgraded. You know, I'm kind of scratching my head, like, why do I do this? And again, I do it for data, for educational purposes, to really figure out who are the top sellers in the platform. I would say the other seller, JVZ, is probably one that I'll keep on my list of sellers just because while the books didn't grade out specifically in a 9.4 to 9.8 range or even a 9.0 to 9.8, kind of what I'm looking for, realistically from Atomic Avenue, I do not expect sellers to send me 9.8s. I really don't, not in this day and age. But if you're like, okay, I'm in the ballpark, 9.0, 9.4, maybe a press, you know, cross your fingers, maybe you get a 9.6, something like that. That's fine. For the prices that I'm paying, I feel very comfortable with that, and I'm would be happily satisfied. I think it's when I get near mint books that are in the 7s and 8s that's where I'm like, man, really, that it's just really unfortunate. I think it does probably lean more to just the laziness of a collector or seller really not spending enough quality time with every single comic and grading them. And there's probably collectors that are laughing at me right now. It's like nobody does that. I do that, and it's very important to me to really look at every single book because the condition is king. It defines the book in terms of its credibility in the comic book collecting universe. I don't want to use the C word, community. It's so important that the books are accurately graded because it's what we do. We send books off to CGC and it has to have the 9.8 or else, right? Or else the book's no good. If you get the dreaded 9.6, oh no, it's terrible. But yet with raw books, we get kind of lazy, and it's not like we're lazily going to take all these books and spend a couple $1,000s, and I'm going to send 25 books off to CGC and just see what I get. You have to spend the time with the books and grade them. So all of this really, it just keeps feeding my collection of information and data. And I think most importantly is I got that free Daisy Duck card in the one order. So there is that. So there you go. Those are the two orders. If you like what I do here and enjoy my content, please consider supporting me by becoming a channel member by clicking the join button under this video or visiting my YouTube channel page at youtube.com/moneyballcomics, where you can get details on joining and a full list of all the membership perks, which includes members only videos, early access to videos, priority comments, and most importantly, you get a chance to participate in my monthly giveaways. Thanks for watching, happy collecting, and see you next time.